If you suffer from frequent headaches, you've probably already tried everything. Painkillers, home remedies, cold compresses, rest, even changing your pillow or dimming the lights in the room. And most of the time, the pain does go away for a while, but it comes back. It always comes back. Sometimes the same week, sometimes just a few days later. And you start to wonder if this is normal or if something more is going on. For years, I studied headaches the way almost everyone learns to understand them. A passing annoyance, something that gets solved with a pill and is then forgotten. But one question never left me alone. Why does the pain come back, even after being treated? It was exactly that question that led me to dig deeper into what really happens in the body before the pain even appears. And what I discovered was unsettling. A headache isn't the beginning of the problem. It's the final stage of a process that had already been quietly unfolding long before that first throb ever showed up. This completely changes the way we understand the issue, because it means that while millions of people keep treating only the symptom the moment it appears, the real cause stays right there, hidden, active, day after day, week after week, without ever getting the attention it deserves. And it's exactly that invisible process, that origin that goes unnoticed, that I'm going to show you throughout this video. If you're tired of relieving the pain without ever truly solving it, stay until the end, because I'm going to show you exactly where the real starting point of this problem lies. Here's a mistake so common that you might be making it too without even realizing it. When a headache shows up, the first reaction is almost always to fight only the pain itself. Just the discomfort of that moment, just the ache that's there, throbbing, getting in the way of everything. And it makes complete sense to think that way. After all, the pain is disruptive. It kills your focus, gets in the way of work, wears down your patience, and often even keeps you from sleeping properly. Faced with that, looking for quick relief seems like the only option. And most of the time, that relief really does come. The pill kicks in, the discomfort fades, life goes back to normal. But over the course of my research, I realized that this relief is only superficial. That's because a recurring headache isn't actually the main problem. It's a warning, a clear sign that something deeper is happening inside the body, an imbalance that stays present even after the pain is gone. It's like turning off a fire alarm without checking whether there's still a fire burning somewhere in the house. The annoying noise stops, the sense of relief is immediate, but the real danger remains exactly the same. Just quiet now, waiting for the next moment to show itself again. And that's exactly why so many people live through the same cycle over and over. They feel the pain, they seek relief, they get a few days or weeks of peace, and then, with no apparent reason, it all starts again. The pain returns, often just as intense or even worse. As long as the focus stays only on making the pain stop, the root of the problem remains untouched, feeding this silent cycle that repeats indefinitely. And it's exactly that root, that deeper imbalance that I'm going to start showing you from here on. Even before a headache appears, there's a silent process already happening inside the body, a mechanism that most people never stop to notice. And that's exactly where the most revealing part of this discovery lies. Throughout my research, I realized it all begins with a buildup. Muscle tension that settles in little by little, especially in the neck and shoulders. Too much visual and auditory stimulation, screens, notifications, noisy environments that keeps the brain in constant activity. Changes in sleep, whether it's poorly slept nights or sleep that never actually goes deep, and behind all of it, ongoing stress, the kind that has no start time and no end time. On its own, each of these factors might seem harmless. After all, who doesn't feel a bit of tension by the end of the day or spend hours in front of a screen? The problem is that when these elements combine and repeat day after day, they create an internal environment of constant overload. The body then enters a state of permanent alert. The brain starts functioning as if it were always in defense mode, even when there's no real danger. And it's exactly at that point, when this state of alert drags on for too long, that pain episodes start becoming more and more frequent. It's not a pain that comes out of nowhere. It's a pain that emerges after a process that had already been underway for days, weeks, sometimes months. The difference is that Until now, this mechanism stayed invisible, hidden behind symptoms that seemed unrelated to one another. And it's exactly recognizing these isolated signs before they turn into pain that can completely change the way you deal with this problem. Before the more intense pain arrives, the body rarely stays silent. In fact, it usually sends out a series of small warnings, subtle signs that, in the rush of daily life, end up being ignored or blamed on something else entirely. The first one is persistent fatigue, not the natural tiredness after a full day, but an exhaustion that insists on sticking around even after a night's sleep. You wake up already feeling like your body never truly rested. Next comes trouble concentrating. Simple tasks start requiring more effort than usual, the mind feels scattered, and staying focused on a single activity becomes harder and harder. There's also irritability, often written off as just a bad day. Small situations that never used to bother you start triggering disproportionate reactions, and this usually isn't linked to anything beyond the stress of the moment. Another important sign is a feeling of heaviness in the head. It's not quite pain yet, but an uncomfortable pressure, almost as if something were sitting there, waiting to come out with more force. And finally, discomfort in the neck, a stiffness, a tension that settles in and is often treated as nothing more than the result of bad posture without considering its direct connection to what's about to happen. What I noticed, studying this closely, is that these signs almost never get the attention they deserve. They're seen as isolated, passing annoyances, unrelated to one another, but they're actually the first evidence that the silent mechanism is already at work, warning you before the pain hits that something needs attention. We've reached the most surprising point, the one that explains something you've probably already experienced firsthand. Why, no matter what you do, the headache always finds a way to come back. The answer is simpler than it seems, but also harder to accept. As long as the main cause remains present in the body, the pain will keep coming back, repeatedly, like a cycle that never truly closes, no matter how many times you try to break it. This explains why medication, cold compresses, rest, or any other form of immediate relief only work up to a point. They act on the symptom, on what's being felt in that exact moment. They relieve the pain that has already arrived. But they don't touch the origin of the problem, that deeper imbalance I showed you in the previous parts, which stays there, silently active, even when you already feel fine again. That's why the pain can disappear for a few days, give you a break of a week or two, and then come back just as strong, often catching you off guard. Not because the previous treatment didn't work, but because it was never aimed at the true root of the issue. It just silenced the warning without resolving whatever generated that warning in the first place. And here's the most important detail. The longer this cause goes unresolved, the more the body gets used to repeating this pattern. The episodes start happening more often, sometimes even more intensely, because the body is already conditioned to this state of constant overload. In other words, the cycle doesn't repeat by chance or by bad luck. It repeats because the origin is still there, untouched, waiting to finally be identified and corrected. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about next, how to break this cycle. Just reducing the pain isn't enough. That doesn't mean relieving the discomfort is wrong, quite the opposite. It's necessary and important during flare-ups. The problem is stopping there. It's treating only the consequence while completely ignoring what keeps generating it over and over. What I discovered is that the real path starts with identifying the factors that are keeping the body in a constant state of overload. That built-up tension I showed you earlier, the excess stimulation that never gives the brain a break, the nights of sleep that are never truly restorative, and the ongoing stress that never seems to have an endpoint. Together, these are the elements feeding the silent mechanism behind the episodes. The next step is correcting these factors before they become a permanent part of your routine. That means paying attention to the small signs your body has already been sending. In persistent fatigue, trouble concentrating, irritability, that feeling of heaviness in the head and neck discomfort. These signs shouldn't be ignored. They are, in fact, the ideal moment to act, long before the pain sets in again. Because in many cases, a frequent headache isn't the problem itself. It's just a messenger, a sign that something in your body has been asking for attention for much longer than you think, quietly, waiting to finally be heard. And that's exactly where the real power of this discovery lies. Instead of staying stuck in an endless cycle of temporary relief, it's possible for the first time to get to the root of the problem and with that, live days without that constant weight hanging over your head. If this discovery made sense to you, and especially if you recognized any of these signs in your own daily life, drop a comment below. Which of these signs do you feel most often? If this video helped you see your headaches in a different light, hit like. It really helps get this information out to more people who are also suffering in silence with this same problem without knowing the real reason behind it. And if you want to keep learning about how your body communicates with you through these small signs that so often get ignored, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because in the next video, I'll keep bringing discoveries like this one, always with simple, straightforward language to help you understand what's really going on inside your body. Thanks for watching all the way through, and see you in the next video.